happy Christmas Eve. I can't believe it's Christmas tomorrow. That has come around ridiculously quickly. Christmas Eve this year is on a Thursday, which means it's time for our 4th Throwback Thursday of the month. So far this month we've gone back to December 2019, January 2020 and February 2020 for our wrap-ups. But now we're all up to date on our wrap-ups. So today it is time for us to show you a big old unhaul. My bee friend is coming to help me out. Thank you, Sunny, for making a special appearance. So basically, earlier in the year, we decided that we had too many books and we decided to get rid of a load. Sophia started climbing on all of the shelves and ripping them all down, and some of the places where we'd stored the books were no longer baby safe. So we just got rid of tons of books. And in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about each one, why we're unhauling it. I've got a feeling it's like 73 or 74 books. I can't remember. Hopefully I said at the beginning of the video, so we will be nicely up in the title. But yeah, we're going to show you which books we got rid of. They're all long gone. They've been gone out of this house for a very long time. But we do have another unhaul coming for you soon, because we've been slowly collecting books together that we're going to get rid of. But where charity shops are closing and opening and reclosing again, and they're doing like booked appointments for dropping things off, we haven't had a chance to do that yet. But you will have another book haul, kind of spring book unhaul, not book haul. You will have another kind of book unhaul spring cleaning video coming at some point, hopefully in January or February. But for now, let me pass you over to past Alyce, and she can tell you the books that we decided to get rid of back then. So if you'd like to listen to this while you wrap some last minute gifts for your family, feel free. You can learn a little bit about some books that you will probably not want to read, or you'll be really annoyed at me for getting rid of them. But we will see you tomorrow on Christmas Day, and I'm going to be talking about all the books that I really hope I found in my stocking, and Sean will be able to be really annoyed at himself that we didn't film this early enough that he could have more gift ideas for me. But yes, enjoy our throwback and see you tomorrow. Bye! Hi everyone, it's Alyce here with an unhaul today. I'm sorry the channel's been a little quiet over the last month. I actually gave birth in the middle of December, so we've been really busy trying to juggle 2 babies and Christmas and New Year's. And if you can hear any noises in the background, that's because 2 babies, it's hard to keep them quiet. Just thought I'd do a bit of an unhaul because we decided to do a bit of a spring clean early over Christmas. So we're getting rid of 75 books today, and I just wanted to show them off before I send them on their way. So let's just get on with it. The first kind of section of books that we are getting rid of are like bits of series. So I'm terrible when I go charity shopping. I always just grab like random books off the shelves that are like in the series, thinking, oh, I'll fill those in at some point. But most of these I've had for so long and I still haven't done that. So I'm going to be getting rid of them all. The first 4 books I'm getting rid of are part of a series of unfortunate events. So I've got books 1, 2, 4 and 5 because I'm really organised. Somehow missed getting 3 and then never got the other 8. So if you haven't heard of a series of unfortunate events, I'll be really surprised because it got adapted for a Netflix show a couple of years ago. So I did a bit of a reread. And a movie. Yeah, there was also a movie. I did a bit of a reread. They are really awful upon rereading them. They're really repetitive. It's just the same story over and over again. And I thought it was really charming when I was a child. So my partner and I have decided that if our babies are interested in them, we'll buy them a new set and get them all nice and matching and snazzy. But for now, 4 random books out of a 13 book series can go. So next up, we have the Millennium Trilogy by Stieg Larsson. This is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I'll say that again. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. It's nice and wide. So the only reason we're getting rid of these is because my partner also has copies, so I'm throwing away my really grungy old ones. Not throwing away, donating. Not going to just throw them away willy-nilly. But yeah, these are very big books, so the likelihood is we're never going to read them, but we definitely don't need to have 2 sets of a series that we're probably never going to pick up. I've also got 80 Days Yellow by Vina Jackson. I think this is kind of like 50 Shades of Grey. We have a charity shop in Swindon that gives away 3 books free every time you visit, and I thought this might be vaguely interesting, so I picked it up, realised what it was about, will end up donating it back there. Not ever going to read a book like this. Next up we have Mercy and Muse by Rebecca Lim. This is the first and third book in a series about angels. As you can see, these are ex-library copies, so I just randomly picked these up in the library book sale. Didn't realise they were part of the same series, just thought they were by the same author. But I haven't got the middle book and I'm not interested in buying it, so there's no point in starting a series that I'm never going to finish. Same applies to What's Left of Me by Kat Sang. I've heard really good things about this one in the past, but it's part of a duology. I got this as an ex-library copy. They never got the second book in, so I'm not going to end up reading this. I've also got Shadowlands and Hereafter by Kate Bryan. I bought these when I went to Bath with my friend Anya a couple of years ago. I thought they were really beautiful covers, but I've heard some really bad reviews about them since. It's about a girl who survives a serial killer, but he's like her family member. I think, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, they escape a serial killer, and then I guess it's just 3 books of him trying to find them. But yeah, I don't have the third one, not interested in buying it, so these can go. Another book from the free bookshop is A Time of Exile by Catherine Kerr. I wanted to get into more fantasy books, but it's just not gonna happen because this sounds like it's kind of like a romancy one. I might be wrong, so if you've read it and you liked it, just leave comments down below and I might take this one back out because this is one I'm quite torn on. But it sounds more like a romance than a high fantasy, which is more what I was looking for. I've then got Possession by Elena Johnson. This is the first book in I think it's a trilogy. It's dystopians. It's a beautiful cover and I couldn't resist picking it up at the same time as I got the Shadowlands books actually. But again, not going to buy the second one, so it's just not worth me having it. Another 2 ex-library books. We've got The Dark Divine and The Lost Saint by Breda Spain. These are recommended me by my friend Ellen back when we were like 15. And I picked them up and I thought I'd eventually get to them. And I realised there's also a third book in the series that I'd never even heard of. And I just thought if it's a series that I've not even heard of the third book, then it obviously doesn't improve with time. So I'm not going to be reading these after all. Then I've got Dark Soul by Anna Stevens. This is actually the second book in a series and we didn't realise. So I read the blurb to my partner and he was like, that sounds quite interesting, but like I don't really understand what's going on. And I'm like, yeah, that's because it's the second one and we didn't know. And this is why publishers really need to put like a number 2 or like the sequel 2 on the front cover, because this just looks like it could be a brand new standalone thing. It's not. So it's going. Another 2 books, not part of a series, but these are the first books each in series by the same author. So these by Karen Mahoney, and this is Falling to Ash and the Iron Witch. Based off of Goodreads, it looks like the sequels to these books never actually came out. I can't find them online anywhere, and even though I was still kind of interested in reading them, if it's going to be a series that I'm starting and can literally never finish because the books are out of print, there's just no point in wasting time starting them. And also proves how interested I was in reading them because I didn't even bother taking the price ticket off. So if I make sure to donate that one to an Oxfam, I've saved the people a job. These are going. I've then got Goddess of Spring by PC Cast. I own basically all of PC Cast's books because I was interested in reading the House of Night series. I've still not actually got further than the second book, but hoping to rectify that this year, even if I just end up donating them all if they're not good. This is Goddess of Spring. It's like a romantic retelling of like Greek myths and legends, and I'm not really into romance books, so I read Goddess of... it's not even in this. It's not even in the front of this book. I've read whichever mermaidy one she did, and it made me really uncomfortable. I didn't enjoy it. I did read it when I was a lot younger, so I might enjoy them more now, but I just don't think this is the kind of thing that I'm gonna end up reading. I've now got Claire de Lune and Nocturne by Christine Johnson. So this is a complete series about werewolves. I'm still kind of interested in this one, but I've seen some really bad reviews for it, and I like popped it into Goodreads and it didn't have really high ratings. And I feel like there are enough books about werewolves that have good ratings that I am still really interested in, that these ones I can unhaul without really too much thought. Beautiful covers though, they're so beautiful. Right. I've then got Generation Dead by Daniel Waters. This is the first book in a series about zombies in high school, and again, there's enough books that are like this that I'm still interested in, and I'm not really interested in this one. It's just got a nice cover. It came in a box set of books that I bought that I didn't even buy it for this one, so yeah, it can just... I've also got Voices of Dragons by Carrie Vaughan. I've heard good things about some of Carrie Vaughan's other series. Haven't heard anything about this one. Looked it up. It's because it seems like it's awful. This is, again, an ex-library copy. So even if I read this and liked it, I'd end up donating it anyway. But I'm just not going to waste my time on beginning a series that I'm never going to bother finishing. So the next bit is going to be all books that I've read and I didn't really like them, so I'm getting rid of them, or I love them but I've already got like better editions, or I'm going to end up buying a better copy of them. So we've got Where She Went by Gail Forman. I absolutely loved If I Stay, and I read the sequel and I didn't really like it, and then I found it in the library book sale and I bought it anyway. What is wrong with me? The same applies to The Betrayal of Natalie Hargrove by Lauren Kate. I liked Lauren Kate's Fallen series. I think I read the first two, so I still haven't finished that, so I don't know if I liked the whole thing. I hated this, and then I bought it. Stop! Next on the list, we have two of the Warrior Cats books by Erin Hunter. Now, I absolutely love the Warrior Cats books. I just got double copies of these. I have already read them. If not, I'd probably save these ones to beat up to read again, but I'll just read the copies that I've already read. Okay, so next up we've got Hold Still by Nina LaCour. I read this in December, so I am going to have to keep hold of this to do my December wrap-up. I've just realised we should be filming that fairly soon. I absolutely love this book. I just hate this edition, and it's so ugly. I'm going to just get rid of it and hope that I can find a nice paperback edition, because this was just like a weird size for a hardback. And also it's an ex-library copy, so hopefully someone in the charity shop will find this to their liking. Next up, we've got The Graces by Laura Eve. I read The Graces for the YA Book Prize shortlist a few years ago. Didn't really like it. Kept my copy anyway, and I've realised, why am I keeping it if it makes me really mad? Like, I tried to reread it, got halfway through, was like, I can't even reread this because I really don't like it that much. So it can just go to a better home. The next two books are ones that I tried the first chapter of, hated, decided to DNF, and I'm just going to donate them. And that is No Ordinary Love Song by Alison Prince and Posse by Kate Welshman. This is about Australians at a summer camp, and they're all horrible people, so I don't care. And this is about a guy who falls in love with a girl on a boat. Like, he hates everything, and then he sees this girl on a ferry and is like, you're alright. I have no words. They were both, the first chapters of each were awful, so I just DNF'd, and they are going. I've also got The Beast in the Jungle by Henry James. I read this a few years ago because it's a short story, but I'm not going to reread it, so it can go to a better home. I've also got The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. I've got a big bind up of a load of H.G. Wells stories now, which The Time Machine is in, and this is an ex-library copy that is really, really beaten up, so this can get donated as well. And last for this section, we've got Molly's Game. We read Molly's Game a couple of months ago. I can't remember when. I think it was October. But it wasn't as good as we were expecting. And kind of when the story kicks in is when it finishes. So it's not going to be a book that we reread. So we just thought that we would get it gone. The next few books are all ex-library copies that are just books that I'm really not interested in. We got Pretty Bad Things by C.J. Scoose. I've heard good things about C.J. Scoose's teen books, so I have kept hold of a couple of the ones that sound a bit more interesting. But we read her adult series, Sweet Pea, and the second book was just so awful that I don't really trust her writing anymore. I'm getting rid of this one. Gonna try, I think it's Monster that we've still got, but I've got a feeling we're probably going to end up DNFing it. We also have Butterfield 8 by John O'Hara. Don't know, I was going to say Mara. There's one good reason to get rid of this. It's an ex-library copy, and it has pages missing. So this is page 6, and then this is page 9. So this one's actually going to get recycled, because I don't want to donate it and have somebody else be like, what is wrong with this book? We've also got Stolen Away by Alexandra Harvey. Alexandra Harvey wrote the Drake series. It's like vampire-y. I don't really remember anything about it, but I remember I liked it. This is a standalone about fairies, but I've read enough fairy books to know that this one doesn't seem like it's going to really appeal to me. And based off of some of the reviews on Goodreads, it's just really average, and I have too many books to read an average book. I've also got 15 Bones by R.J. Morgan. Don't really know anything about it. It sounds very sad, and again, I have enough sad books to not read a sad book that sounds like it's not really going to be up my alley. Sounds a bit similar to the Cronkton Knights series by Alex Weekle. It sounds like it's going to be kind of similar to that, but Alex Weekle's writing is just impeccable, and I'm not too sure if I want to read something that's similar but not as good. Also, it's just such an ugly cover. And I've also got What a Boy Wants by Naira Dawn. I was going to read the first chapter of this one to see how I felt about it, but all the reviews just absolutely slate it, so this is another one that can just get gone. That's also the first one in a duology. Should have remembered that. Could have gone in the other pile. I've then got a whole stack of non-fiction books that I'm getting rid of, so I'm just going to run through all of these at once because they're all going for exactly the same reason, and that's that I'm not really interested in them. So we've got Baby Watching by Desmond Morris. Looking at the Stars by Lewis Hine, which we're both really interested in, but it sounds really sad because it's about a boy who is going to die because he has an incurable illness, and I don't want to be sad. We've got Pranks, Bants and Whatevs. This is my partner's book, don't ask. And Vlogs, Tags and Hauls as well, so those can go to a good home. We've got Jensen Button's autobiography, which I kind of bought with my mum in mind, and she doesn't seem interested in it, so this can go. We've got Full Disclosure by Stormy Daniels. Everybody's seen all of the best bits of this book online because everybody's quoting it to hell, so there's no point in reading it. We've got Camera Girl by Doreen Spooner and Alan Clark. It's Alan Clark writing about Doreen Spooner, who was the first female photographer on Fleet Street. It still interests me. I'm just not quite sure if it's really the kind of book I want to be reading at the moment. We've got the Theory Test for Drivers. I'm never going to learn how to drive. Goodbye. Creative Writing, Psychology, and Film Studies from the Teach Yourself series. I already know enough about all of those that I don't really feel like I need to have the books anymore. We've got The Secret of Happy Children. We're currently in the middle of raising two that seem to be pretty okay, so I don't really think we need to keep this one. The Wisdom of Trees by Max Adams, which sounds really interesting but also really, really boring. So I just, if you've read this one, please let me know because I am still quite interested in it, but I just think it's going to send me to sleep. And we've also got Johnny Bairstow and Uncle Hamilton, A Clear Blue Sky. And this is about somebody who does cricket. I don't like cricket. And last but not least, this is a stack of like brand new books that we're just not interested in anymore. So we've got Heat and Firechild by Sally Emerson. I got these in a charity shop in London because they are just so beautiful, but they sound like they're quite romancy, and again, as I said earlier, I'm not really into romance stories, so I think it's time for these to go to a better home. We have The Nightmare Affair by Mindy Arnett. I think this one actually might be the first in a series, so this probably should have been mentioned earlier on. It's about a girl who is a nightmare. She goes to a school and she has to like infiltrate people's dreams, I think. But it kind of sounds like it's a way that's trying to be a high fantasy, and it's just not really getting there. It's got a blurb from Kendall Blake, which is one of the things that made me most interested about it, and also Marissa Meyer's quoted on the front. So someone will probably absolutely love this, but it just doesn't sound like the book for me. I've got You Don't Know Me by David Klass. This is another book. I found it in a charity shop and I thought that the cover was very interesting, which is why I picked it up, but I've seen some fairly average reviews about it, and I just think that I've had it for that long that if I was going to read it I would have picked it up by now because it is quite thin. I've got Low Red Moon by Ivy Devlin. This is another werewolf book, and as I said earlier, I've got enough werewolf books that have really good ratings that if I'm interested in reading a werewolf story, it doesn't need to be one that is this old. I've got The Light Gets Lost by Natasha Carthew. This was one of the lowest rated books on my Goodreads TBR, and I've seen a lot of people doing things recently where they like read the lowest rated books and see how they are. But this one, when I was looking at that, I realised that it just really didn't interest me at all. Like, there's a lot of, like, colloquializations through it. It's like, it kind of talks in lots of slang, and I find books like that hard to read at the best of times, so I'm just not interested in it. I've got What I Tell You in the Dark by John Samuel. This is a proof, so I probably should have read it by now, and I still haven't. It sounds like it's about Christianity and religion, and I'm just not going to read it because it came out in 2015. So if I was going to read it, I should have read it before now. I've got Ours Are the Streets by Sanjeev Sahota. This is another book that I got from the free bookshop. Thought I'd be really, really interested in it. Still haven't picked it up, and I'm just not really interested in it anymore. So this one can go to a better home. I've got The Splendor Falls by Rosemary Clement Moore. This was another book that was recommended by my friend Ellen at exactly the same time that she recommended The Lost Saint of the Dark Divine, actually. Picked it up probably in like 2011. Still haven't read it. Not going to read it. Then I've got Prodigal Son by Deborah Mullins. I think this, again, might be the first book in a series, but it's quite, like, romancy. Just not really into romances, if I'm honest. Like, contemporaries are okay. Kind of chick-litty ones, but, like, when it gets to, like, sexy romances, it's just not the kind of stuff that I like to read. So hopefully someone will enjoy this more than I would. This is actually the hardest one for me, which is ridiculous because I'm not interested in the book at all, but this is River of Ink by Paul M.M. Cooper. Again, this is a proof, but it's just so beautiful. Like, the cover is so nice, and it's like got a really strange texture, so it kind of feels like you're touching like oldie paper, and I really want to keep it, but my partner was like, are you going to read it? And I was like, no, I'm never going to read it. He's like, why are you keeping it then? I'm like, that is a very good point that makes me very sad. So goodbye, book I've had since 2015 and will never read. And I've also got Betwixt by Tara Bray Smith. I was still really interested in this, and then I checked out on Goodreads to be like, what are the reviews like? And they're all awful. Apparently it's one of the slowest books, and all of the viewpoints are just dreadful, and there's like 3 viewpoints for literally no reason. And again, I still haven't even taken the price ticket off, so if I really cared, probably would have at least done. And the last few books I'm going to unhaul are actually my partner's books, and because we've like combined our collections together, we've gone through and we've picked like books that these are all books that neither of us are interested in, so it's not like I'm getting rid of his books because I'm not interested in them, but they're just books that aren't going to work for either of us. To start off, we've got The Girl from Venice by Martine Cruz Smith. We started reading The Partisan Heart by Gordon Kerr together last year, and we both hated it, and it sounds like it's going to be quite similar. I don't know if it's just like the Venetian setting, but as soon as I said Venice 1945, he was like, nope. So away it goes. We've also got Alone in Berlin by Hans Verlade. This is actually because we have 2 copies, because Sean can't keep track of what books he has, and it's not until I'm like, oh, we have 2 of those, and he's like, what? And then I'm like, yeah, we do. So away she goes. We've got Lightning Girls Superhero Squad by Alicia Dixon. Now, I'm very tempted to keep this because it has the beautiful blue sprayed edges, but it's the second book in a series, and even if it was a series that my daughter was interested in, I'm not sure whether we would buy the first one. I just think there are lots of very, very good children's authors, and like, no offense to Alicia Dixon, but like, she's a singer, so I feel like I'd rather support people who make a living as children's authors over people who are doing it as kind of like a side career. Got London Triptych. Need to remember that. Can't say Triptych. We've got London Triptych by Jonathan Kemp. This still sounds fairly interesting, but it also just sounds really, really sad because it's about the kind of gay culture in the 1890s. And also in the 1950s, it like jumps across timelines, but it sounds like it's quite a lot about like homophobia and the kind of police brutality towards homosexual people, and I just think it's going to be too sad for me to read at the moment. We've also got Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, book of the film. I'm not interested in it. My partner's already read it and he said it was not really worth reading, so somebody else will find more joy from this than we do. We have Tom Clancy's Point of Contact by Mike Madden. There are just too many Tom Clancy books. I like reading books in order in a series. I don't care if it's a series you can dip in and out of. I have to read them in order. So Tom Clancy really triggers me. And this is like number 50, 100. So let's just not start with these. Let's just not. The same rules apply with The Romanov Ransom by Clive Cussler and Robin Bursell. There are so many Clive Cussler books, and there is not a good place to start with any of them. So she'd be too chunky for me to try and catch up with this series and then also read it, especially when I'm not really that interested. And then last but certainly not least, we have Star Wars Phasma by Delilah S. Dawson and Wrath of Iron by Chris Raitt. Wrath of Iron is one of the Warhammer 40k books. I've read a few of them in the past, but this is quite late in the series and I don't think I'm going to be able to catch up to read this one. My partner's not really that interested either. And the same with Phasma. We're interested at the time, but now it's just a case that the interest has passed and we're probably not going to bother doing that one. And so that's everything for today. That is 75 books that we are unhauling. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope this inspires you to get some of your own spring cleaning done, especially because I can imagine quite a lot of you have got a lot of books for Christmas, so you're going to need some space on your shelves. I should be uploading a couple of videos in the next few weeks. I'm going to try and get back into it because the little one is beginning to be a bit more independent, so he's not just constantly on me. Fingers crossed we'll be back on like a regular filming schedule and we'll get some more fun things up for you. I hope you have a great day and I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!